All right, the FBI over the weekend did something it's never done before. It released a FISA warrant for the first time in Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court's 40-year history.
The warrant, which authorized surveillance of former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, has been a clear partisan talking point. Republicans claiming it improperly used information from the Steele dossier. Democrats claiming their colleagues were misrepresenting the document.
All right, let's take a closer look at Carter Page and where he fits in the Russia investigation. In 2013, Page met a man posing as a Russian diplomat to the United Nations. He provided him with documents about the energy industry. 2 years later, that man and two others were charged in New York with being agents of a foreign government. Page joined the Trump campaign in 2015. The candidate listed him as part of the foreign policy team. In 2016, Page gave a talk in Moscow that was critical of American policy toward Russia. It appeared to praise Vladimir Putin, which caught the FBI's attention. Page said he mentioned the trip to then-Senator and campaign surrogate Jeff Sessions. The FBI's FISA warrant on Page alleges that, quote, the FBI believes that Page has been the subject of targeted recruitment by the Russian government to, quote, undermine and influence the outcome of the 2016 U.S. presidential election in violation of U.S. criminal law. And remember, this warrant and its renewals were approved by 4 different federal judges. Page himself has not been charged with a crime and denies the allegations in the warrant. Joining us now is former Assistant Special Watergate Prosecutor and now partner at Dorsey and Whitney, LLP, Nick Ackerman. Nick, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okey doke.
You go ahead. You got those tweets early this morning before I did.
I woke up to see these tweets. This is what I don't get. He took to Twitter this morning claiming the FISA warrant shows the Steele dossier was the source to obtain the warrant. We have heard the same thing from Devin Nunes. And while I did not go through all 400 pages, and I'm quite sure the president didn't, I know that's not the case. It was a lot more than the dossier, which is how they got the warrant from, let's add, 4 judges, all who were appointed by Republican presidents.
Yeah, Trump's statement is a total lie. I mean, just by virtue of that affidavit, it goes back to 2013, prior to the Trump campaign. In addition, the Steele information wasn't the only information that was in that warrant. On top of all that, the idea that the press account in Yahoo was somehow put in there as false corroboration for what Steele said, again, is a lie, as put out there by Devin Nunes, because if you look at the warrant itself, it's in there only for the purpose of giving Carter Page's exculpatory statements and his reasons why it wasn't, why he wasn't a Russian spy. So
Trump uses this. He does the same thing with the raid on Cohen's office. He tweets out there that it's all based on nothing and whatever the case is. And every time we talk to FBI people or lawyers at the Southern District of New York or lawyers like you, you can't just get these warrants for nothing.
No, you've got to have very specific facts that, in fact, an ongoing crime is underway and is being committed. You have to have probable cause, which is not an easy standard. I mean, even though this is the first time...
So it's not a guess. It's not we think these guys might be.
Okay, then. But if you really have to have probable cause and you have to build a house to get a warrant like this, why isn't he indicted?
Because sometimes you don't come up with enough evidence to prove someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, this happens all the time with wiretap warrants, and it doesn't mean he won't be indicted at some point. We don't know. But the fact of the matter is, as Assistant U.S. Attorney, I used to have lots of warrants like this, not necessarily FISA, but the format was the same. You'd look at all kinds of different people. You'd have informants and various people who'd give you information that would form the basis for a warrant and a wiretap.
So I got one question. The Trump campaign always throws these guys under the bus, right? As soon as somebody is indicted or named, they throw them under their coffee guy,
volunteer.
Is it possible they just don't vet their people? Or because there's a bit of a pattern here. There's a whole bunch of people who apparently were not important, but who were important, including Paul Manafort and Carter Page and this kid Papadopoulos. What do you think?
No, I think there's a clear pattern here, and what they've tried to do is take Carter Page out of context. But when you look at the entire evidence that we know in public, what you've really got is a concerted plan to infiltrate the U.S. government by Russia. You've got the most obvious, which was Donald Trump in Helsinki last week, groveling to Vladimir Putin and then meeting with him in private for 2 hours. You've got his campaign manager, Manafort, who's going on trial today for basically getting $75 million from Russian interests, from the Russian government, to take care of their interest in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
You've got Papadopoulos, who was aware of the break-in to the Democratic National Committee back in March, April of 2016. You've got Roger Stone, who was talking to both of the people that were involved in staging the release of those stolen emails, Guccifer 2.0 and WikiLeaks. You've got the Republican National Convention, where the Trump campaign kept out any increase in sanctions over the Ukraine. You've got Jared Kushner basically trying to get a secure communication system between the Trumps.
I forgot about that. I mean, that's a greatest hits
But
right
I mean,
there.
the bottom line is you've got the Russian government taking over the U.S. government now without firing a single shot.
So, Stephanie,
that's what's so concerning.
What might be better then is for Trump to stop saying it's a witch hunt and it's totally false, and to say there seemed to have been some concerted effort on the part of the Russians to infiltrate my campaign, which, by the way, I would not have approved of, and we need to ferret this out.
This is the best argument ever.
Yep.
The fact that there was a cyber attack on our campaign does not automatically mean that the Trump campaign colluded. It is by President Trump's own hand that he's being squishy about sanctions.
Right.
The best evidence is his consciousness of guilt. The fact that he tells James Comey not to investigate Flynn, who was dealing with the Russian ambassador.
Right. Why not?
Right, because he's afraid of what that evidence is going to show. This is the actions of a guilty man who knows that the government is being taken over by the Russians, and he's just a puppet for Vladimir Putin.
Ali, even if we know there was a hack, we're not saying this doesn't make you the president. No one is trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Just say what it was, research it well, and keep us safe in the next election.
And even after the president corrected himself with the would and the wouldn't last week, he's undermined it yet again
walk
with
that
the
back.
could be anyone.
I don't even know where we are on the walkbacks. I just don't know what this is. A liar and truth teller.
We've got
thing?
a double, triple negative.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.